What's up, guys? Welcome back to my Self Love with Sarah podcast. I'm excited for this one. We're going to touch on some business stuff. I get this question asked a lot on my social media, and I'm here to help. So let's just dive in. I guess the biggest question that I always get asked is how to start up a business, running a business, how I do it, in my marriage and as a mom and business cost budgeting, all those things. So, it's definitely not easy. Figuring out what your passion is in life is the start, right? You got to figure out what you love, what you're good at. For me, I guess I knew I wasn't ready to start anything until I knew I can just be at the point where I can take it on myself, right? Like I didn't want any business partners. I didn't really want to take out crazy loans and be in debt. So my biggest thing is working my butt off until I was able to take on a business by myself solely and be able to be ready to do this alone. That was my biggest thing in the beginning. I remember I had somebody come to me and ask me if I wanted to do my business with him and him be like kind of like the silent partner, be more of the financial stable in the business. And I was like, you know what? That sounds great, but I really wanted to just make sure that I can do this by myself. And here I am 7 years later doing it alone. And I can't wait to share some of my tips with you. So what it takes to run a business, I guess my first advice to you is going to be you have to be ready. You have to be able to give it your all 100% day in, day out, utilize your sources and failure isn't an option. You have to be ready to take on any, failures or hardships that are going to come your way and be able to just learn how to navigate them. I think the best thing about me is there's like A-type people and B-type people, and I'm kind of like a mix of both of them because I don't overthink things too much. I don't feel like I have to have everything perfect in order for me to do them. So it kind of is a nice balance because I'm like, all right, I don't feel like I have to know how to do this completely 100% and give it my all before I can do it. I kind of have the mindset where I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to learn along the way. So that has really helped me navigate like, all right, like I don't know how to do this. I'm not going to be perfect at it. Am I ever going to be perfect at it? Is anyone going to be perfect at it? But I find that I talk to people and their biggest setback or what holds them back is that they feel like they have to be perfect at it in order to start. So my biggest advice to you is you don't. I heard one time many moons ago that there is, A+ work and B+ work, and A+ work never gets done. So get the B+ work out there. You know what I mean? The A+ work is like, who's pushing out that type of work all the time. So push out the B+ work and just learn your business along the way. I sure as hell didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. And I feel so proud that I taught myself. I self-taught myself, and I was very involved in networking and just learning my craft, learning my career, meeting people, asking for help, asking for advice, picking people's brains. So that's really what helped me get where I am today. So you started a business, right? You got the business up and running. You figured out a budget. You got it going. So my next advice to you is you have to be at your business. So what does that mean, right? So mine is a brick and mortar. I have to go to it every day. Your business can be like maybe at home on your computer, okay? Whatever the case may be, however it looks for you, you have to go to it every day. So for instance, like me working in the salon, 7 years ago, I started a business with no employees and with minimal clientele. Seriously, I really had no clients. And instead of, I had business hours. So instead of going there for my one client and then leaving because I had no clients, I stayed there. So you have to be present in your business 24/7. Or at least during those business hours. Whatever your business hours are, it's so important to just be there through and through. So now what are the next steps to running a business? It's really important to make sure that you have staff that matches your energy, navigating people that are, going to having a staff that's going to build your brand with you, that want to be a part of it, and, having a team. So that's really important. So it really was hard for me in the beginning because I was kind of trying to figure out like who fits my brand the best. So over the last 7 years, I have been, you know, trying to figure out the best match for my brand. And it's still definitely hard with having employees and all that, but being front and center to your brand, to your staff, leading by example, and just guiding them through what you want your brand to look like, right? So even if it's my skincare line, my beauty line, or being in the salon, it's two types of businesses, but I have to show up every day in order to get that same energy matched, right? Dealing with vendors and product cost and figuring out, what matches your brand has been nothing less than exhausting, but fun all at the same time. So let's talk about a little bit of me dealing with vendors for my beauty line. I get this question asked a lot on where I get my products from, where I get questions all the time. So I like to keep a little bit of what I do secretly because I feel like I want everybody to do what I did, right? The way you're going to learn is sleepless nights, working hard day in and day out. And I learned everything from the bottom, and that's how I learned to be where I am today. So just dealing with vendors, a little insight of what that looks like is dealing with vendors across sea, right? So when I'm dealing with my vendors, when it's 9 p.m. my time, it's 9 a.m. their time. So I am dealing with vendors all throughout the night. So after I come home after a 12-hour day working behind the chair at the salon and managing my staff and running my salon and dealing with customers and physically working with my hands, I have to come home and then deal with vendors that are across the seas, whether they're in China or Europe or all over the world, really. So, it becomes exhausting because it's just you have to be present, and it's really all about how much you're going to give and how hard you're going to work to get there. So when I was dealing with my beauty line, I'm dealing with vendors across seas, and I'm up all night long, really. I'm up till 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock dealing with vendors, getting prices, packaging, quality control, like the whole nine. Really, that was probably one of the hardest things and then not to mention you're dealing with a little bit of a language barrier there. So it's been interesting dealing with that, to say the least. But back to what I was saying before, like I want everyone, if I gave all my tips and tricks, like it would just make it easy. I had to learn. And the only way to learn is I have to physically do it myself. I have to figure it out. Like if somebody told me how to do this all, I don't think I would be as good as I am. So, maybe one day I'll have like a little course on this, but for now it's just, you have to do your research. You have to really have those sleepless days, day in and day out, and figuring out different languages and talking to people across seas. As far as products and services in the salon, that's another thing. You have to figure out what matches your brand. I really want to push luxury out into the Hudson Valley. I want to give the best services to my clients and to everybody that comes and walks in the salon. So we really thrive on making so how does that look? We thrive on really from the moment a client walks in the door, giving them the best experience, from handing them a glass of champagne, taking their jackets for them. I even give hugs and kisses. I'm very loving like that. That's just who I am. And then from there, just giving them such a luxury experience. We have food there for them. We have, we give them massages at the sink. Like there's just a luxury feel when you walk into my place. So that's something that, I really thrive off of, and I really want people to have that full on experience. Right. So here's my advice on budget and cost. I'm not going to lie, guys. I definitely struggle with this because, one, I'm not good with math or numbers. Thank God for my husband. He helps me, he keeps me in check, like balancing it. But you have to spend money to make money. That's my biggest advice. So yeah, a budget is cool. I cannot lie that out of the however long I've been in business, I really haven't had a budget, and that might not be a good thing. But you have to you have to spend money in order to make money. And yes, you do have to have a budget. So I have people that help me budget my money. Like I have obviously my accountant, I have a bookkeeper, I have all these little people that help me do all these things. I think that's very important because it's just not my strong point. So whenever I'm in business or whenever I am not strong at something, I hire. I love relinquishing and delegating my control and just hiring somebody that has those strong points, and that's what I do. So my next thing is how do I deal with competitors? And that is such, I think that goes back to what I was saying about people get so in their head about things and then they can't just do, right? Because they're in their head about, right. For instance, my beauty products. Like if I really thought hard about all these other brands, right? Big brands, JLo Beauty and the Kardashians and this and that, I would never start something because I would be like, there's no way. I can't compare. I can't compete. There's just zero competition. So if I allow that to hold me back, I would get nowhere. So you really just have to just like, for me, as far as it comes with my beauty brand, I just like, it's like foot down, head back, right? Like I just kind of like, just go. I just like pedal to the metal. I don't think about it. I really stay in my lane. It's kind of like tunnel vision. I try to not like look. I kind of like browse and get ideas, but I try to get inspired and not too over the top with it. Because sometimes it does get very discouraging and intimidating. I'm like, how the hell am I going to compete with these big brands, like these big companies that have millions of dollars funded to them? They're thousands of dollars of ads running monthly. There's like, it's not feasible for me. It's not obtainable. But I guess I'm proud of like where I am, whether it's little or big. As far as competitors in the salon industry and that, I guess my best thing is that like there's competitors everywhere, right? There's a salon like every mile down the road. But now instead of thinking everybody's my competitor, now I want to be engaged with my competitors. So now I'm an educator. Not only am I a salon owner and do their hair, but now I want to be able to educate them and help them thrive. So that's where I think that I've kind of tricked the system. So I'm like, well, this hairstylist can be my competitor and we can this one and that one. But instead I'm like, no, I want to help them. I want to be on the same team as them as hairstylists in my industry, extension specialists in my industry. I don't want them to be my competitor. I want to be a team. So I want to have, education stuff. I want them to come to my salon and us learn and grow together. Like to me, there's just no such thing as like competition, really. I mean, it's just never been my thing. I really, that word does not, that it's just not that vocabulary. It's not in my vocabulary. I don't look at it like that. I really don't. I don't think I've ever had like that competitive bone in my body. I mean, I was an athlete and, obviously I feel like I love everybody. I love what everybody's doing. Nobody is a competition to me, whether they're better. I look at them and if they're better than me or they're doing something more than I just want to be that, like I just get to that level in my mind where I just want to be there. I'm not like, I don't get the weird competitive, nasty feeling inside. So yeah. So the next part of my advice is how do I deal with employees, staff, and clients? So that's a tough one for sure. I have dealt with, my employees and staff. I have in the beginning became very, 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 very close to my staff, and I still am, don't get me wrong, but I have set boundaries because you have to definitely keep your professional life and your personal life separate. I've learned that it just does nothing but bite you in the butt if you don't, because I am your boss and I tend to become more of their friends, and that has hurt me in the past. I tend to always be the bad guy in the end. So it's definitely a struggle. It's hurt me probably the most out of all the things I've done. The competition, the starting the business up. Like I have been more like I've had my heart broken more because of that, just than anything. Because you become you work with these people every day. You're day in and day out with these ladies or whoever. And, things just happen and it just sucks. So you kind of have to draw that line and keep it super business and super professional. Because whenever I have to address the situation to my staff, it's like, when they think you're their friend, it goes ugly every time. So it's really been able to just set those boundaries, not hanging out too much outside of work. And of course, that's like, it's so hard to say these things or think these things, but you just kind of have to keep it like separate. That's my biggest advice. Do I take them and do like holiday stuff and like one big party a year? Yeah. But do I hang out with them every weekend and go out to dinner and have drinks? Like, not really. I really try to keep that stuff separate because it snipped me in the butt in the past, which is unfortunate. And I really feel like happens in most situations because because when I'm young like them, and we all become the same level. It's almost like we're peers when it's really not. I'm the boss. So when I say something, that's what you got to do. I'm the boss. So it's been a struggle. But like I said, over the last like couple years, I just keep it I keep it professional. I keep it, I keep my personal life out. I don't tell them much about what goes on outside of my life, and that's what's worked best within the last couple years. How do I deal with hiring and firing? So that's tough too because I love everybody. I think I have like, I don't judge people. I don't judge you. I don't judge a book by its cover. So I take everybody in, and that hasn't worked for me either. But I really now in the last couple of years, I have to know my worth, right? I have to know the energy if it's matching me or not right off the bat. So instead of being like, oh, that girl was really nice and she's really sweet, but she didn't do this, this, and this, like my non-negotiables, I have to draw the line. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. It does. Like I can't feel bad for everybody. Like sometimes I just want to give them a job, give them an opportunity. And then I'm like, well, this person doesn't even fit my brand at all. So it's like, I think I have that like mommy in me that wants to give everybody an opportunity, wants everybody to do good and thrive. And then, they come to an interview looking like a bum. Like, you know what I mean? We're in the beauty industry. We can't do that. So it's stuff like that. I mean, it's really hard because I come from a little bit of a different generation now. And, I never would DM like asking like, hey, are you hiring? Like we didn't do that. We send resumes. We did it like professionally. Like I get girls now like just DM me and be like, hey, are you hiring? I mean, I guess that's the way to do it. I don't know. I haven't really had to fire too many. A couple people I've had to fire, and it just, that's another thing. Like I'm so old school. Like I can't do it through text. I got to do it through the phone or face to face. Like, cause it's just like morally incorrect if I don't do it that way, So I cry. That's it. There's the answer. I cry like a baby because I hate this. I love the people, but I have to know what's right for me and for my family and my mental health, like all of that. So I bawl the whole time. That's it. I cry for weeks prior. I pray to God, help him, ask him to help me. And it's tough. Yeah. That's how I fire. I'm crying the whole time. Yeah, you just gotta go. Like I can't take my mental health. Just can't take this anymore. So I love all my clients. I have the best clients. I do. They respect me. I respect them. There has been many times though. Here, I think this is what happens. clients see my energy. They know that I'm like a kind of no bullshit type of person. So they don't really mess with me. They respect me. But what I've seen over the last couple years is they tend to pick on my little girls that work for me. um, and that is hard to see and watch. Well, I don't really necessarily see it with in front of my eyes, but they tend to do it kind of like when I walk away or whatever. So that's kind of hard. So I really try to set the bar high when it comes to my staff. Like as much as my client, so here's the struggle, right? Who's going to be there at the end? Is the staff member going to be there or the clients? Most likely the clients are the ones that are going to be with me forever. So it's how to have that relationship with my clients and say, I got their back, right? No matter what, through and through, but make sure they respect my staff too. Because end of the day, 7 years, I have had the same clients and I've had like 7 new girls, right? So it's really trying to have that balance because that's the struggle with the salon, right? I have a girl, I have an assistant, she comes, she works for me and then leaves. But then I have this client that has been here for 7 years, 5 years, whatever it may be. And it's like, I feel like that's the battle. Finding the respect between the two, like is tough. So I have really great clients, but when I have those clients that come in and don't respect my salon or my policy, that's the struggle. But really just being so proud of where I am and so okay with implementing these policies and the respect and the boundaries and what we're doing here. So there was one time, I have 2 stories. So there was one time where a client was being rude. She just wasn't being nice. Like we weren't verbally like communicating properly because she was trying to explain something and I was trying, and we were just going back and forth. And she was just getting really nasty. And I literally looked at her and I said to her, we're going to stop right now. You're going to walk outside. We're going to start over. Okay. You're going to come back in and we're going to start this over. Cause this is not how I want to do things. I want to start over. And literally she looked at me like I was freaking nuts and it was fine. And the energy just became light. You know what I mean? When it was super heavy. So I have a way, I think, to really make light of a situation, like you're not going to talk to me like that. And we're just going to have respect. And just because we're not able to understand each other's points or communicate them, it doesn't mean that we have to shut down, right? We need to figure this out. And I think that's what's so tough is people shut down, they don't know how to communicate. So I really bring light to making it a staple in my salon or in business. Communication is so important, right? And that we will get through whatever whatever we're going through, whatever misunderstanding there is, or whatever the case may be, we're going to get through it. We're going to communicate through it and it's going to be fine. So that is an incident between a customer and me, right? A client and me. I've had situations with customers now I have to protect my staff. So back right before, I think it was like February, right before we shut down because of COVID. I had a girl come in. I was not at the salon yet. And she came in, she was getting her hair done by one of my girls. And she is so long ago, so I have to kind of remember the story. But so she came in, she was getting her hair done. She was a nurse at Danbury Hospital. And she was saying how she was in the COVID unit and her boyfriend has COVID, her fiance has COVID, and she's been around all these COVID patients. And my staff, my employee was freaking out because this is when nobody knew what was going on, right? And this nurse came in like, woe is me, wanted everybody to kind of feel bad for her. Because she was scared too, kind of thing, going on and on and on. And so I come in and my staff, my stylist was blue in the face. She was like scared. She thought she was going to die. She was going to bring COVID home to her daughter. It was like a big thing because this is when nobody knew what was going on. It was so scary. So I went up to the lady and I asked her, I said, she was at the sink getting her hair washed. And I said to her, hey, listen, I'm informed that you were in contact with COVID. What is the word I'm thinking of? Like you were in contact with COVID. Once you get your hair washed, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And she was like, oh, okay. Right? She was like scared to say anything to my face. She pays, she leaves, she left with wet hair. I said, you're gonna have to leave with wet hair. Like you came into my salon scared. Like not only that my stylists were shitting their pants, the clients that were around heard her. So she leaves, she pays, she calls now. She calls the salon, starts screaming at me, threatening me for her effing money back, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, listen, you got your service. You paid for, you got your color was done. Like, well, you just didn't get a blowout. Like your hair, you left wet, but we colored your hair. You ain't getting your money back. Like, no, I'm going to go on Yelp and social media and blast you out, la, 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 la. So she did. She went on Facebook, tagged me, wrote up this big thing. Well, guess what I did? I went on Facebook Live, my first viral video. And I went down the whole thing about what this woman did, this nurse. She came in. I'm like, you ain't going to play with me and my staff. No. You ain't going to make us feel like we're going to kill our kids if we go home. Like, this is how scary it was before. Anyways, it had like literally 2 million shares. It had like 5 million views. People were calling me from the press. It was insane. It was the most insane thing. Danbury Hospital called me, her boss. It went that like viral. And then the police called me and told me I had to take it down because she went and tried to press charges on me. So it was like, so that's the type of like situation I had to deal with as a boss. Like, and I was like trying to like be very calm. I'm like, listen, when all this gets figured out, come back. We'll blow you out. We'll cut, we'll figure this out. No, I'm going to have my boyfriend come in. I'm like, okay, honey. So I'm like, I hang up, I go work with and finish my clients, and all of a sudden, ding, ding, Facebook alert, well, Yelp, this, Google review. I'm like, I'm getting all these negative reviews. I was like, okay, you want to play with this girl? Literally, I had like 5, and then I had to take it down. I was so upset at my first viral reel or live or whatever. So anyway, so I had to deal with lots of craziness. But my biggest, it's just like literally just talking to the clients. You have to just talk to them. When they get nasty with you, you have to, customer service is big, right? I'm not really a fan of the customer's always right, but like you have to talk to them. You have to hear their side. You have to be understanding of their feelings, but you got to stand your ground. So let's jump into policies, right? Because after that becomes like policies. So I have to admit that I haven't had the best policies in place when I first started out, right? It was kind of like learning them as I went. Like, oh, this happened, now I got to add it to my policy. Like learning like how crazy people can be along the way is what has made my policy have gotten better, because I'm not sick and twisted in my head enough to think like, oh my God, if this one does this, da-da-da-da-da. Like people really like outstretch like what they do. So it's been over the years, I've implemented policies and really enforced them. And that's the biggest thing. Like you have to enforce your policy. I will do everything. I will go above and beyond. Like as far as non-refundable like services. So like if somebody's not happy with their service, you can come in back to my salon 5 times, but I'm not refunding you your money. Just not. Because it's a service. So like there's just, ways to go around it and try to help make everybody feel good. But so you just have to have these things in place before, you go about it. So I have signs all over the walls. I have things that they have to sign, waivers they have to sign. But it's just really enforcing these policies and standing by them. It really sucks. That's probably the hardest thing about, business, cancellation policies and just enforcing them. But policies, it took me so long to put these policies in place. So I'm not going to be like, okay, so. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope this helped. I know business is always hard, and how much I feel like this world has become like an entrepreneurial world. People want to be their own boss and start their own business. My biggest advice to you is don't wait. Don't, that, like I said, the A+ work, just, that never happens. Get that B+ work out, start that business, take that leap of faith and just believe in yourself. So the next episode is going to be fun. I'm going to have a little guest with me. So stay tuned for that for next week. Don't forget to go follow my pages, Sarah O'Flaherty _, Sagra Beauty. Go check out my website at sagrabeauty.com and stay tuned for next week's episode.